If you have a 1979 Indian 1 rupee coin, don't spend it or sell it just yet, because there may be more to this little piece of metal than meets the eye. Welcome back to Coin Collection 1, the channel where we explore fascinating coins, hidden varieties, rare eras, and the stories behind the world's most interesting currency. Today, we're taking a close look at the 1979 Indian 1 rupee coin, a coin that has attracted attention from collectors and online treasure hunters who wonder whether an old example could be worth far more than its original face value. Some claims on the internet have even suggested extraordinary values reaching as high as $1 million. But is an ordinary 1979 1 rupee coin really worth that much? Or is the real value hidden in a rare variety, mint mark, unusual era, or exceptional condition? Stay with us as we uncover the history and secrets of this fascinating Indian coin. The 1979 Indian 1 rupee coin comes from an important period in the history of modern Indian currency. By 1979, India had already been using a decimal currency system for more than 20 years. The 1 rupee denomination was one of the most familiar coins in everyday life, used by millions of people across the country. It passed through markets, shops, businesses, and households, becoming a small but important part of daily economic life. Today, almost half a century later, these coins have become interesting historical objects for collectors. When you hold a 1979 1 rupee coin, you're not just holding a piece of metal. You're holding something that was produced during a very different time in India's history. The standard 1979 1 rupee type is generally associated with the copper-nickel 1 rupee series of the period. The coin is approximately 28 millimeters in diameter, weighs around 8 grams, and is about 2 millimeters thick. It has a silver-colored appearance because it is made from a copper-nickel alloy rather than precious silver. The standard composition is approximately 75% copper and 25% nickel. This is an important fact for collectors. A 1979 1 rupee coin should not automatically be considered valuable simply because it looks silver or because it is nearly 50 years old. Its real collector value depends on several factors, including the exact variety, mint mark, condition, rarity, and whether the coin has a genuine minting era. Now let's take a closer look at the design. On the obverse of the coin is the famous Lion Capital of Ashoka, one of the most recognizable symbols of India. The Lion Capital has ancient historical origins and was adopted as the state emblem of the Republic of India. Beneath it is the national motto, Satyam Vijayate, meaning truth alone triumphs. The coin also carries the country's name in English and Hindi, connecting India's modern national identity with its rich cultural and historical heritage. On the reverse, the denomination 1 rupee is prominently displayed, along with the corresponding Hindi inscription. The year 1979 appears below, while agricultural imagery, including grain or corn stalks, surrounds the denomination. This design reflects the importance of agriculture and food production in India's economy and society. For a casual observer, these details may appear simple, but for collectors, every part of the design can be important. The position of the lettering, the style of the numerals, the appearance of the Lion Capital, and especially the mint mark can help identify different varieties of the coin. And this brings us to one of the most important things you should check if you own a 1979 Indian 1 rupee coin, the mint mark. During this period, Indian coins were produced at different mints, and the location where a coin was struck can sometimes be identified by a small symbol. For the 1979 1 rupee series, catalogue references identify examples associated with the Calcutta mint, which generally has no mint mark, and the Bombay or Mumbai mint, which is associated with a small diamond symbol. Proof examples can also have different identifying characteristics. The mint mark is often extremely small, so you may need a magnifying glass or a good quality photograph to see it clearly. This tiny symbol can help collectors determine exactly where a coin was produced and which variety they have. But here's where things become even more interesting. Not every 1979 1 rupee coin is necessarily identical. Numismatic references identify different design varieties within the series. Collectors may examine the exact style of the Lion Capital, the lettering, and other small design features. Even something as subtle as the shape of a letter can sometimes help identify a particular variety. This is why experienced collectors never look at the date alone. Two coins may both say 1979 and 1 rupee, but one may be a standard circulation coin, while another could be a different mint variety, a proof, or an unusual error. The process of making these coins also helps explain why errors sometimes occur. Coins are produced using carefully prepared dies and metal blanks. The blank is placed between the dies and struck under enormous pressure, creating the final design. When everything works correctly, the result is a perfectly formed coin, but the minting process is mechanical and sometimes mistakes happen. A coin may be struck slightly off-center. A blank may be incorrectly positioned. A die can become damaged or develop cracks. A coin might even be struck more than once. These events can create genuine mint errors, and some errors can be highly desirable to collectors. For example, an off-center strike occurs when the blank is not properly aligned during striking. This can cause the design to appear noticeably shifted toward one side. Other possible errors include broad strikes, clipped planchets, die cracks, die breaks, and double strikes. However, there is an extremely important difference between a genuine mint error and damage that happens after the coin leaves the mint. A coin that has been bent, scratched, drilled, polished, or damaged by machinery is not necessarily a valuable mint error. In fact, post-mint damage usually reduces collector value. One documented example demonstrates the importance of genuine errors. A 1979 Bombay Mint 1 rupee coin, described as having an approximately 20% off-center error, was offered at auction and realized 800 Indian rupees. This shows that genuine errors can attract collector interest, but it also demonstrates that not every unusual coin becomes a fortune. The exact value depends on the type of error, how dramatic it is, the coin's condition, authenticity, and collector demand. Now we come to the question that attracts the most attention. Could a 1979 Indian 1 rupee coin really be worth $1 million? The honest answer is that an ordinary 1979 1 rupee coin should not be assumed to be worth anywhere near $1 million. Some online videos and social media posts make extraordinary claims about old coins, but these claims often confuse asking prices, speculative valuations, or hypothetical values with actual market sales. A standard circulated 1979 1 rupee coin is generally not a $1 million coin. However, the world of numismatics has seen extremely valuable coins, and exceptionally rare circumstances can create extraordinary prices. A coin could theoretically be worth a very large amount if it were a unique or extraordinarily rare error, an important experimental issue, an exceptionally rare variety, or an extraordinary specimen with a documented history and provenance. But such cases are extremely rare, so if someone tells you that every 1979 Indian 1 rupee coin is worth $1 million, that claim should be treated with great caution. Extremely high prices usually apply only to exceptionally rare coins, major mint errors, unique specimens, or record-breaking auction examples, not ordinary circulated coins. This is why collectors carefully examine the condition of their coins. Condition can make a major difference in the world of numismatics. A coin that has spent decades in circulation may have scratches, dents, worn details, and damaged surfaces. Another example from the same year may have been protected almost immediately after leaving the mint and could retain much sharper details. Collectors generally use grading systems to describe a coin's condition, ranging from heavily circulated examples to high-grade uncirculated specimens. The better preserved the coin, the more attention it may receive, especially if the issue is already scarce in high grades. But there is one mistake you should never make: don't clean your potentially valuable coin. Many people believe that polishing an old coin will make it look better and therefore increase its value. In reality, aggressive cleaning can damage the original surface and reduce collector appeal. Scratches and unnatural shine caused by polishing can be obvious to experienced collectors. If you own a potentially valuable 1979 1 rupee coin, handle it carefully by the edges and store it in a proper coin holder. Avoid harsh chemicals, polishing compounds, and unnecessary handling. Authentication is equally important. If you believe your coin has an unusual error or rare variety, you should compare it with trusted numismatic references and, if necessary, Consult an experienced coin dealer or professional grading service. Look carefully at the weight, diameter, edge, lettering, design details, and mint mark. If something doesn't match the expected specifications, investigate further. This is especially important when someone claims that a coin is worth thousands or millions of dollars. Before believing such a claim, ask for evidence. Is there a documented auction sale? Is the exact variety recognized by reputable references? Has the coin been authenticated? Are there comparable examples that have actually sold for similar prices? These questions can help protect collectors from unrealistic valuations. One of the most fascinating things about the 1979 Indian 1 rupee coin is that its value isn't always about age. A coin can be old but common. It can be collectible but inexpensive. And it can look unusual without being rare. True rarity depends on several factors, including how many coins were originally produced, how many survived, how many are in collectible condition, and how many collectors actually want them. This is why serious collectors study mint marks and varieties. A tiny symbol near the date can tell you where a coin was made. A small difference in the design can identify a variety. A genuine mint error can transform an ordinary-looking coin into something much more interesting. And sometimes, the most valuable feature is something that the average person would completely miss. Imagine finding a 1979 1 rupee coin in an old family box. At first glance, it looks like an ordinary coin. But under magnification, you notice that the design is slightly off-center. You check the weight and measurements. You compare it with reference images. You discover that the error appears to be genuine. Suddenly, the coin has a completely different story. This is the excitement of coin collecting. The thrill isn't simply about finding a coin that is worth a fortune. The real excitement comes from discovering something unusual and understanding why it is different. The 1979 Indian 1 rupee coin is also interesting because of its connection to everyday life. When it was first released, it was not considered an ancient treasure. It was simply money. People used these coins without thinking about the fact that, decades later, collectors would carefully examine them under magnification. One coin may have traveled through dozens of hands. Another may have been saved by a child. A third may have been placed into a collection and forgotten for decades. Every surviving coin has a story, and that story is part of what makes numismatics so fascinating. So, if you have a 1979 Indian 1 rupee coin, what should you do? Start by identifying the exact coin. Confirm the year and denomination. Look carefully for the mint mark. Examine the Lion Capital and other design details. Check for recognized varieties. Inspect the coin for genuine mint errors. Evaluate its condition and avoid cleaning it. If you discover something unusual, take clear photographs and seek expert advice. Do not rush to sell. Do not believe every sensational claim you see online, and never assume that a huge price is real without documented evidence. The claim of a $1 million value should be viewed as an extraordinary possibility rather than the normal market value of a standard 1979 Indian 1 rupee coin. If an example ever achieved an extraordinary price, it would likely be because of something exceptional, such as an extremely rare error, unique variety, or historically important specimen, not simply because it carries the date 1979. Nevertheless, this coin remains an interesting piece of Indian history. It represents the country's modern currency system, carries the powerful symbolism of the Lion Capital of Ashoka, and reflects the economic life of India during the late 1970s. Its different mint possibilities, design varieties, condition levels, and potential errors give collectors plenty of reasons to examine these coins carefully. And perhaps somewhere out there, a truly unusual example is still waiting to be discovered. Maybe it is hidden in an old collection. Maybe it is sitting inside a forgotten box. Maybe someone has been carrying it for decades without realizing that it is different from the millions of other coins produced during the same period. That is why you should always take a closer look. The next time you come across a 1979 Indian 1 rupee coin, don't immediately dismiss it as an ordinary old coin. Check the date, study the design, look for the mint mark, examine the condition. Search for genuine errors and varieties, because in the world of coin collecting, the smallest detail can sometimes tell the biggest story. And remember, the true value of a coin is not always measured in dollars. Sometimes its greatest value comes from the history it represents, the journey it has survived, and the mystery surrounding its origin. If you enjoyed this journey into the history and potential value of the 1979 Indian 1 rupee coin, make sure to like this video and subscribe to Coin Collection 1 for more fascinating stories about rare coins, valuable varieties, historic currency, and hidden treasures from around the world. And now, tell us in the comments, do you have a 1979 Indian 1 rupee coin in your collection? What mint mark does your coin have, and have you noticed any unusual details or errors? Share this video with your fellow coin collectors and with anyone who keeps old coins at home. Because you never know, one small coin that has been forgotten for decades could be the beginning of an incredible numismatic discovery. This is Coin Collection 1, and remember, before you spend an old coin, always take a closer look. You might be holding a piece of history that is far more interesting than you ever imagined.